All right, strap in, everyone, because this time on the deep dive, we are heading deep into the grim darkness of the 31st millennium.
Yeah, get those bolters locked and loaded because we're diving into the trenches with the Serpent and the Saint.
That's right, the latest Warhammer 40k novel from Matthew Farrer. And spoiler alert, we'll be going into full battle scribe mode on this one, so if you haven't read it yet, might want to fortify your position and come back later.
This is definitely one you don't want spoiled. Farrah pulls no punches, throws us right into the meat grinder that is the war for Urdesh.
Oh man, talk about a grim setting. The Imperium versus the Blood Pact, both sides dug in, scrapping for every inch of blasted wasteland. And right in the middle of it all, we got Garapin.
Ah, Garapan, a planet drowning in blood and fire, strategically vital, soaked in history, and about to become the battleground for a confrontation of epic proportions.
And amidst the tank traps and craters, we get to meet the Iron Snakes chapter. These guys are, well, there's something else.
Not your typical Astartes, that's for sure. They live and breathe discipline, efficiency, minimizing casualties. Every battle is a calculated game of regicide to them, every move planned out with chilling precision.
Right, like remember that part where Captain Priad takes out that Blood Pact convoy? It's like watching a master chess player dismantle a newbie. Brutal, efficient, and honestly, a little scary.
Exactly. It's that unsettling effectiveness that makes the Iron Snakes so fascinating. They embody the iron within, iron without philosophy. They value the lives of their battle brothers above all else, and they fight with a cold, calculated fury that makes even other Space Marines nervous.
Okay, but you can't talk Iron Snakes without mentioning the big twist, right? Living Saints, come on. What's next? The Emperor's Champion showing up for tea.
Well, here's where Farrar throws a curveball. Saint Sabbat isn't some bolt-throwing, demon-banishing warrior saint. Her power is quieter, more insidious, and ultimately much, much more unsettling.
Like seriously creepy, unsettling.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about a power that whispers in the back of your mind that makes you question everything you thought you knew about faith and reality.
And speaking of questioning reality, let's talk about how this impacts the poor grunts on the ground. Colonel Masso, right? Stuck between a rabid cornet berserker and a holy icon. Tough spot.
Masso's perspective is crucial. He represents the seasoned soldier, the one who's seen too much to put all his faith in miracles. He sees the morale boost Saint Sabbat brings, sure, but he also sees the danger in relying on something so unpredictable, so uncontrollable.
And speaking of unpredictable and uncontrollable, can we talk about the Leks for a second? And their wire wolves. Because nightmare fuel, right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely creepy crawly territory. But before we get into those horrors, a quick warning for our listeners. We're entering spoiler territory here. If you haven't read the book yet, might be a good time to find some cover.
Yeah, seriously, consider yourselves warned. All right, so, wirewolves. Farter describes them as warped, spectral greenskins, all jerky movements and razor-sharp claws, like something out of a bad trip after too much recaf.
And those sounds, man, like metal scraping on bone, echoing through the trenches, enough to make even a space marine reach for a flashlight.
And just when you think you have a grip on them, bam! Far hits you with a twist. They're not just mindless beasts, are they?
Not even close. Turns out these things are puppets, controlled by a powerful, unseen enemy lurking in the warp. Imagine that. You're an iron snake, facing down these horrifying creatures, and you realize there's something even worse pulling the strings.
Yeah, that's when you know you're in a Farrer novel. He's a master of taking the already grimdark setting of 40k and cranking the dread up to 11.
And nowhere does that grimdark dread ramp up more than in the big showdown at Garapan.
Right. Like, everything's coming to a head, the Iron Snakes dug in, Blood Pack screaming for skulls, and poor Colonel Mazzo stuck in the middle trying to hold it all together.
I mean, imagine being that guy. On one side, you've got the poster boys for cold, hard pragmatism, fighting a war of inches. On the other side, you've got literal chaos incarnate, throwing themselves at your lines in a frenzy of bloodlust.
And let's not forget those wirewolves skittering through the trenches, just waiting to turn some poor sap into a chew toy.
But even with all that going on, what really struck me was how Farrer still manages to emphasize the Iron Snake's discipline, even in the middle of a meat grinder like that.
Totally. Like, they're surrounded by chaos, literally and figuratively, but those guys are still holding to their oaths. Every casualty hurts, every shot counts, every move is calculated.
Yeah, like that scene where Priad takes out those blood-packed tanks. Pure tactical brilliance. He's using the terrain, the enemy's momentum, even their own fire against them. It's brutal, but you can't help but admire the sheer efficiency of it all.
It's almost like watching a surgeon work, except instead of a scalpel, it's a bolter, and instead of a patient, it's a bunch of screaming heretics. But yeah, you're right, the discipline is insane.
And then into this whole mess walks Saint Sabbat.
Talk about an entrance.
Right. I have to admit, when I first read that scene, I thought, okay, here comes the Deus Ex Machina. The saint shows up, waves her hands, and all the bad guys just keel over.
Yeah, pretty standard 40k stuff.
Exactly. But Farrer, he flips the script. Saint Sabbat, she doesn't just banish the darkness, she embodies it. Her power is unsettling, subtle, like a chill down your spine.
Dude, you remember that scene where she silences the wirewolves? The whole atmosphere just changes.
Chilling, man. It's not flashy, there's no explosions or psychic lightning, but you can feel the power radiating off of her. Even those chaos-dawn creatures, they can sense it's something way beyond them.
Yeah, it's like the universe itself is holding its breath, just waiting to see what she's going to do next. And poor Colonel Maso, caught in the middle of it all.
Right. Can you imagine that conversation? Colonel, we've got a saint at the front gate. What are your orders?
And Maso, the poor bastard, is probably thinking, a saint? Are you kidding me? I just want to survive this day.
He's the perfect foil to Saint Sabbat, though, He represents that grounded, pragmatic view of the 40k universe. He's seen too much to put his faith in miracles, even when they're staring him right in the face.
It's that classic 40k tension, right?
Yeah.
Faith versus reason, hope versus despair.
Yeah.
And Farrer, he doesn't shy away from it. He makes you feel the weight of those choices, the consequences of putting your faith in something bigger than yourself, especially in a universe as messed up as 40k.
And speaking of messed up, we got to talk about the Blood Pact for a second. They're not just mindless bad guys in this book. Farrer actually gives them some depth.
You're right. It's easy to write off the forces of chaos as, well, just that, forces of chaos, right? But Farrer, he does a great job of reminding us that even in the 41st millennium, everyone's the hero of their own story.
Exactly. They might be worshiping demons and bathing in the blood of their enemies, but they've got their reasons, their own twisted faith. And honestly, that makes them even scarier.
Oh, totally. Because it's that human element, that twisted reflection of our own capacity for belief and fanaticism that makes the Blood Pact truly terrifying.
Right. It's like looking into a broken mirror, seeing a warped version of the Imperium staring back at you.
Speaking of warped reflections, I think it's time we talked about the elephant in the room, or try to say the Chaos Space Marine in the war zone.
Ah, yes, the Dark Tusk. The name alone sends chills down your spine.
Dude's like the embodiment of everything scary about Chaos Space Marines. Huge, mutated, wielding a chain axe that probably eats Thunderhawks for breakfast.
And driven by an insatiable rage, fueled by centuries of war and bloodshed. But here's the thing. What makes the Dark Tusk truly compelling is the glimpse Farrer gives us of his past.
Oh, right. Because this guy, he wasn't always a Chaos champion, was he?
Nope. He was once a loyal Astartes, sworn to defend humanity. But somewhere along the way, he succumbed to the whispers of the warp, the lure of power, the seductive promise of chaos.
It's that tragic fall from grace, that reminder that even the most noble heroes can be corrupted, that makes the Dark Tusk such a tragic and terrifying figure. And when he clashes with the Iron Snakes, man, talk at an epic showdown.
It's a battle for the ages, the embodiment of discipline and cold, hard logic versus the raw fury of chaos incarnate.
But just when you think Garipan can't get any more chaotic, that all hope is lost, that's when Saint Sabbat makes her presence known.
Talk about a game changer. The atmosphere shifts, the wirewolves go silent, even the bloodthirsty fanatics of the Blood Pact, they hesitate.
It's like the universe itself is saying, hold on, folks, something big is about to happen.
And remember, we're expecting some grand display of power, right? Some holy fire, maybe a psychic shockwave that sends everyone running for cover.
Right, because she's a living saint. It's got to be epic.
Exactly. But instead, there's this quiet power, a subtle shift in the air, like the entire planet is holding its breath, waiting to see what she'll do.
And the way Farrer describes it, man, it's chilling. You don't see the saint unleashing her power. You feel it. It's in the way the wirewolves go still, the way the Blood Pact hesitates, the way even Colonel Mazo, the guy who's seen it all, is left speechless.
It's a masterclass in building tension and delivering a payoff that's both unexpected and utterly unforgettable.
And that's what makes The Serpent and the Saint such a fantastic read. It's got all the action, all the grimdark spectacle you'd expect from a 40k novel, but it also dives deeper, exploring themes of faith, duty, and the human cost of war in a way that will stay with you long after you finish the last page.
Couldn't said it better myself. It's a reminder that even in the grimmest, darkest corners of the galaxy, even amidst the endless war and bloodshed, there's still room for hope, for faith, for those fleeting moments of something more.
Well, folks, there you have it. Another deep dive into the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. Until next time, keep your bolters clean, your chainsword sharp, and your faith in the Emperor strong. And maybe, just maybe, pick up a good book while you're at it.